Great to be here with you guys today. Kathy Engelbert is cooked. Well done. Put her in the air fryer and forgot about her. Put her in the oven and left her in 30 minutes too long. Kathy Engelbert is cooked. She's finished. If there is a league for 2026, Kathy Engelbert's not going to be in charge of that.
Shocking allegations are now emerging ahead of the Indiana Fever versus Las Vegas Aces matchup. Officials are reportedly being accused of accepting bribes, and the claims have allegedly prompted an investigation into what happened behind the scenes. Fans are demanding answers, while players are calling for greater accountability. And if these allegations are ultimately proven true, the fallout could be enormous, potentially dealing a serious blow to the WNBA's credibility and reputation.
WNBA referees calling fouls against Caitlin. She didn't even touch Chelsea Gray. She deserves a damn Oscar. We got Candace Parker sneak dissing Caitlin during the game. No home runs. That's a home run. At this point, I believe the entire league is against Caitlin Clark.
The whistle sounds and suddenly the entire basketball world freezes. A questionable foul. A call that feels almost invisible. Caitlin Clark, the rookie sensation who has completely changed the landscape of the WNBA, is forced to the bench in overtime, not because an opponent stopped her, but because of the officials. The Indiana Fever versus Las Vegas Aces matchup has become far bigger than a basketball game. It has turned into a debate over the league itself. Clark, the superstar who helped put the Fever back in the spotlight, is left watching from the sidelines at the worst possible moment. In one stunning sequence, she loses the opportunity to decide the game, while Las Vegas walks away with a victory that feels more like a coronation than a true battle. And that's where the story changes, from Rookie of the Year hype to questions about whether something deeper is happening. Clark appeared to have the game within reach after knocking down 2 huge three-pointers. But the Aces, powered by Ajay Wilson's dominant presence and Chelsea Gray's veteran composure, refused to let the rookie control the ending. Clark had been taking over, yet the closing minutes of regulation and the entire overtime period exposed exactly how difficult it can be to contain a rising superstar. But how does a team that once looked nearly unstoppable suddenly fall apart? The answer can't simply be Caitlin Clark. Stephanie White, recently recognized as Coach of the Month, deserves her share of the criticism as well. This wasn't just a story about Clark coming up short. It was about the entire Fever organization struggling under the pressure of facing a championship-caliber Las Vegas squad. Ajay Wilson, the reigning MVP, wasn't simply defending, she was making a statement. And despite Clark's brilliance, she found herself caught between the Aces' relentless physical pressure and a series of officiating decisions that became increasingly controversial. Then came the breaking point. Jackie Young buried a corner 3 to send the game into overtime, and Chelsea Gray delivered the late-game dagger. Suddenly, Indiana's defensive structure was falling apart. And Caitlin Clark was left carrying the responsibility for a collective team failure, a burden that even a player with her extraordinary talent couldn't overcome alone.
And then we got Brick Center. Caitlin Clark choked at the line.
Interesting here to close this game in the last 10 seconds.
Clark missed both. That was Caitlin Clark missed both of the damn shots. I'm starting to think it's a conspiracy. I ain't lying. This has to be... Guys, look at how Caitlin Clark was playing. Look at how Caitlin Clark was playing, bro. Where is that? Where is that?
The breakdown starts with the miss. Caitlin Clark came up empty at the free throw line. It's a brutal way to describe it, but with the game hanging in the balance, those 2 missed free throws became impossible to ignore. How does a player go from potential hero to the center of the blame in less than a minute? For Indiana, the immediate aftermath was devastating. Clark's expression said everything, a player visibly feeling the enormous weight of a game that had slipped away. Her final numbers, 20 points on 7 of 20 shooting, 2 of 10 from beyond the arc, along with 8 turnovers, show just how much pressure Las Vegas managed to put on her. On the other side, Ajay Wilson delivered 26 points with the kind of efficiency and physical dominance that made her presence impossible to ignore. While Clark was battling for every opening, Wilson seemed to be creating advantages everywhere. But the bigger concern for Indiana goes beyond one disappointing night. Clark is putting together an MVP-caliber campaign, yet this matchup exposed a major weakness. The Fever cannot consistently succeed if Clark has to carry the entire offense by herself. Las Vegas' defensive approach appeared designed to turn Clark into a facilitator rather than allowing her to operate freely as a scorer. The Aces repeatedly pressured her and forced the ball out of her hands, but Indiana's supporting cast struggled to turn those opportunities into points. Then came the officiating controversy. One disputed foul call involving Clark and Chelsea Gray quickly became fuel for fans who already believe Clark receives inconsistent treatment from referees. Critics argued that the Aces were allowed to play more physically, while Clark seemed to be penalized for contact that wasn't always obvious. Whether those complaints prove justified or not, the perception itself has become part of the story. This game felt like a clash between the established championship core of Las Vegas and the emerging superstar leading Indiana's next era. The Aces made it clear they weren't going to simply hand the spotlight to the new generation. Indiana's defensive execution didn't help either. Confusing switches, including situations where Aaliyah Boston was matched up against Chelsea Gray, created openings that allowed Las Vegas to fight its way back into the contest. In the end, this wasn't simply a failure by Caitlin Clark. It was a breakdown across the entire Fever system. Clark had her mistakes, but she was ultimately left carrying the blame for problems that extended far beyond one player's performance.
Damn near lost for words. I cannot believe Caitlin Clark turned the ball over at the end. Now, she was fouled, but Caitlin got to get rid of the ball, bro. She got to get rid of the ball, bro. I'll be one of the first to admit it, bro. Now, this was Caitlin Clark's first phase after missing back-to-back threes. This was Caitlin face, bro. What are we doing, Caitlin? What are we doing here, bro?
Caitlin Clark's expression tells the entire story. The disbelief, the frustration, the exhaustion, this was the kind of moment where every second carried enormous weight. Meanwhile, Ajay Wilson and the Aces celebrated as if they had just won a championship. In a symbolic sense, perhaps they had. They showed that even Caitlin Clark's brilliance can be disrupted when the game gets physical and the officiating becomes part of the conversation. And the consequences for Indiana could be significant. Clark remains one of the league's biggest stars, but if defensive physicality and controversial officiating prevent her from playing at her best, the entire product can suffer. This matchup also exposed a major problem for the Fever. They need more depth. Clark finished with 20 points, but only a few teammates consistently made an impact. Meanwhile, Wilson, Jackie Young, and Chelsea Gray delivered when Las Vegas needed them most. That raises an uncomfortable question for Indiana. If the Fever can't find a way to compete with the Aces, how far can this team really go? Caitlin Clark doesn't need to carry the entire franchise by herself. She needs a true supporting star beside her. Right now, it often feels like she's being asked to create something extraordinary with limited help. And Las Vegas just sent a very clear message. Caitlin Clark may be one of the biggest faces in the WNBA, but Ajay Wilson remains one of its ultimate championship forces. The Fever may have the hype, the attention, and the superstar talent, but Las Vegas showed that Indiana still has a significant gap to close. The debate over whether Clark receives unfavorable treatment from officials has only grown louder after games like this. Whether that perception is justified or not, fans are clearly going to keep scrutinizing every whistle. Clark entered this matchup as an MVP-level talent. Wilson walked away looking like the closer. And as Indiana left the court, the harsh reality began to sink in. Caitlin Clark didn't simply lose a game. At least for one night, she looked human. But that's what makes this loss so complicated. Clark possesses generational ability, fearless confidence, and shooting range that has changed the way people view the women's game. Yet individual talent can only take you so far. A superstar still needs roster support, effective coaching, and a system designed to maximize her strengths. This game felt less like a simple defeat and more like a chain reaction of mistakes. Clark became the central figure in the drama. Stephanie White faced questions about her decisions. The officials became part of the controversy, and Ajay Wilson quietly delivered the performance of a champion. While Clark was battling pressure, defensive attention, missed opportunities, and the expectations surrounding her, Wilson remained locked in on the task in front of her. And ultimately, she won that battle. No unnecessary theatrics, no need for a spectacle, just the cold efficiency of an MVP who understands exactly how to close out a game. Jackie Young's corner three changed the momentum. Chelsea Gray's late shot delivered the knockout punch. And Clark, the player who has made countless impossible shots throughout her career, was left standing at the free throw line with an opportunity to change the ending. This time, she couldn't. So now the question belongs to you. Did the officiating influence the outcome, or did Caitlin Clark simply fail to deliver when the moment mattered most? Let me know what you think in the comments.